Hi friends, welcome to the video. Today we are going to learn how to checkmate with a bishop and a knight. Before that, I'd like to thank you all for watching the recently released videos and also for subscribing to the channel. Please feel free to share your comments and suggestions on improving the content of the videos. Also kindly request others who have not subscribed to please subscribe to the channel. It just motivates me to release more and more chess videos. Right, let us try to understand bishop knight checkmate. To put into perspective, this bishop and knight checkmate is the most difficult of the basic checkmates. You can find in several videos where even GMs have found it difficult sometimes to give checkmate with bishop and knight, and the matches ending in a draw. However, the good thing is that these endgaming positions are very rare. To be frank, even I have never come across a game in which I had to give the checkmate with bishop and knight. However, but to feel confident and to be ready if and when it comes, it's good to know the checkmate, but it is not urgent. You can plan to gradually pick up in various steps described in the video. Chess is not only about the abilities of individual pieces, right? It's also about learning how the different pieces work together. If you master this checkmate, you'll be able to understand how the bishop and knight work together. Once you learn this, it will be useful in other positions as well. So I'll be covering the topics in two parts. In the first part, we'll learn about the checkmating pattern and driving the king from the incorrect corner to the correct corner and delivering the checkmate. In the second part, I'll be describing about how to push the king from the center to the corner, which is the most difficult part. So now, first let us discuss the logic of checkmating with bishop and knight. It has three steps. The first step is we'll be driving the king from the center to the incorrect corner. However, if the king goes to the correct corner, it will be easy for us to checkmate. However, if the opponent knows the logic, he will obviously move from the center to the incorrect corner. So once we move the opponent king to the corner, then we have to move that king from the incorrect corner to the right corner and checkmate it in the corner. So these are the three steps that are involved in checkmating with bishop and knight. Now that we have learned the method of checkmating, let us first start with understanding the checkmating pattern. Now in this position, we have the black king which is at the A8 corner, and we have the white king which is covering the squares A7, B7, and knight is covering the B8 square, which basically means the king has no place to go. Can you pause the video and find the checkmate? Yes, the move is bishop d5 checkmate. So please remember this checkmating pattern. The checkmating pattern consists of our king, which is at a knight's distance from the opponent king, and the knight is preventing the king from escaping to the next square in the rank or file, and we have a bishop delivering the checkmate along the diagonal. So please remember this pattern. Now that we know the pattern, let us try to understand how to move the king from incorrect corner to the correct corner. So we need to remember this position. We have two kings along the diagonal in a position, and we have a bishop which is covering the h7 square, and the knight is ready to give the check. So this is the first pattern we need to remember. That means once we push the king to the corner, we need to combine the bishop and knight and push the king to the right corner and deliver the checkmate. So here the responsibilities of the knight is to control the dark squares, and responsibility of the bishop is to control the light squares and gradually push to the corner. Right now the opponent king is in the dark square, so knight gives a check, knight f7 check, king g8. Now next step we need to get the control of g8 square. However, right now it is not possible because the king is in g8. So let us make a waiting move anywhere across the diagonal, bishop d3. Now king moves to king f8. Now we can control the square g8 with the bishop. Now this is the first pattern we need to remember. The two kings are in opposition and we have a knight in between them. So we'll see that the same pattern will be repeated 3 times. Right. And the next one we need to remember is this knight moves in a W shape. This is very important pattern to remember. One more thing you need to remember is it start moving only after the king moves. However, if it is your move and the king has not moved, so in such situations you have to make a waiting move. However, in this situation, the king moves out and the knight starts moving out. Knight e5. In this situation, if you see, king is prevented from coming to the seventh rank, so it has only two moves, either to f8 or d8. Let us try to learn how to give a checkmate when the king comes back. That is f8. K f8. Knight gives check. Knight d7. King is forced to come back. K e8. K e6. Again the only move. K d6. K d8. K d8. K d6. Now, if the king tries to come back, K e8. Bishop g6. So he is forced to move back to d8. Now we see that the king are in opposition and the knight in between for the second time. However, it is our move, but as I told, the knight should start moving only when the king moves out. So, in order to do that, we'll just give a waiting move. Bishop f7. Now the king moves out. Now the knight starts moving. Knight c5. Let us say it tries to come back to d8. Knight b7. Only move. King c8. King c6. Only move. b8. King b6. Let us say it tries to come back. 8. We have again the bishop. Now kb. So we will reach this position for the third time. Now that king has almost come to the corner, we need to remember the checkmating pattern. Now as per the pattern, white king is in correct place. Bishop is ready to give the checkmate, but the knight has to come to the a6 square. So let us start moving the knight. Knight c5, king a8. Now remember again, if you move the knight to a6 now, it will be a stalemate. So again, we need to think of a waiting move. It can be anything along this diagonal. Bishop e5. Now the king is forced to come back to b8. Knight a6. Check. Only move k a8. Bishop e8. Bishop e4. Checkmate. Right? So the things to remember are the knight will move in W shape and knight should move out only after the opponent king moves out. And in the final stage, when it comes to the corner, please remember the pattern. And the last thing to remember is the knight should go to the a6 square only with a check. If it goes without a check, that means you'll be reaching the stalemating positions which you don't want. Now let us learn how to give a checkmate if the king moves out. Right. Let us come to this position. So here let us continue the same logic. In f7 check, kg8, waiting move, moves out, kh7, king moves out, knight starts the W maneuver. In the earlier part, we learned how to give a checkmate when the king comes back. However, here king can also move to d8 and escape from there. So we need to learn this pattern as well. So let us say k d8. So here you need to move the king to k e6 once, and if the king tries to escape through c7 square, move the knight next to the king. Now if you see here, knight is covering the c5 and b6 squares, and the Black king can only escape either through this route or this route. That means what? It can only escape through the white squares. So let us say it moves to kc6. Now here we can use our bishop to control the king from escaping. Now you see these two squares are controlled by knight, and we have bishop controlling all the light squares. A beautiful pattern where the bishop and knight are working together and preventing the king from escaping. You need to remember this. Yeah, now let us say king goes to kc7. We can again move the bishop to control the king further. Now if you see, bishop is controlling this and knight is covering these two squares, and it does not have any place to escape, so it has to go inside. Once it goes inside, kd6. Now let us say it comes back, kd8. Now you know this pattern. What we need to do is just cover this square e8 with the bishop, and then the king moves out. Now if you remember this, the pattern is the same as the first one, and now we can continue with the same pattern of knight. Knight moves out. Now in this situation, let us say he moves out, and let us king moves out, and let us say king tries to escape here. Actually, he does not have any escape squares. So what we do, we just make a move with the bishop. So king is forced to come back. Say kb8. Now we'll place our king in kb6. So right now, if you see, all our pieces are in together, and king does not have any place to escape. So it moves to ka8. Remember, not to stalemate. So let us try to make a waiting move. ke6, bishop e6. The king comes out. Knight a6 check. King a8 check. Bishop d5 checkmate. In this position, we have learned how to control the king if he moves to kc7. Let us try to see how to control if he moves to kb7. kb7, kd6. Let us say he moves to kc8. We'll move bishop e4, further controlling the king. The only move kd8, then bishop g6. From here, you know the pattern as you learned earlier. Now let us also see the position where, in this position, let us say if he moves to k8, we'll move kc6, ka7, knight c5, king b8, bishop f5, ka7, waiting move, kb8, kb6, ka8, waiting move, kb8, knight a6 check, k8, bishop e4. So these are the patterns you need to understand. So first thing is learn the checkmating pattern. Once you understand the pattern, then the next step is to learn how to push the opponent king from one corner to the other corner. And there again you have to learn two patterns. How do you manage when the king tries to come back, which is easy, and how do you manage to checkmate or control the king when it tries to escape from outside. So please master these two techniques, and once you are very comfortable with these two techniques only, try to learn how to push the king from the center to the corner. which I'll be covering in the next part. So thank you. Bye for now and happy